Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from round 8 of the individual European Championship that's currently being played in Skopje, Macedonia, or Macedonia if you prefer it that way. But it's an 11-round Swiss tournament with a prize fund of 100,000 euros, with I believe 20,000 euros goes as first prize. So here Vladislav Artemiev, who is the top seed in this tournament, who is really just been playing phenomenal chess for the past 2 years, as far as I know, really taking even getting his ELO rating higher and higher. I believe he's almost at 2750, so that is in the top elite. And here he faces Zbyněk Hráček, a Czech grandmaster, who in 1994 was the Czech chess champion, and sometimes in January 1996 he was even one of the top 20 players in the world regarding FIDE rating. So definitely an interesting matchup, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the game, as it's really just a masterpiece, but you'll see what I mean. So without further ado, let's just check out this game. Artemiev has the white pieces and he opens with e4. Not e4, sorry about that. He opens with c4, the English opening. We have c5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now we go into the 4 knights of the English. We have e3, e6, and now with d4 and d5 we go into, well, we transpose into the symmetrical variation of the Tarrasch defense. C captures on d5 by Artemiev, e captures on d5, and now bishop to b5, developing the bishop, pinning the knight, fighting for the central squares, and here black decides to capture in the center. C captures on d4, we have e captures on d4, and here those of you who have been subscribed to my channel for some time now, we already had this position in a very famous game. It was played last year in a blitz tournament in St. Louis between Mamedyarov and Anand, where Anand went bishop to d6 here, and Mamedyarov won a brilliant game. I also did a video on that game, so if you're interested in seeing it, do check it out. It will be the first thing you will see in the description below is a link that will take you to that game. But in this game we have bishop to e7 by Hráček, and now comes castles by both sides, so they deviate from the Mamedyarov Anand game. And knight to e5, just a nice standard idea, getting your knight into the center. Black of course is never favored to capturing, then you get a nice pawn on e5, f4 is coming, and just everything works in white's favor. So here black simply continues developing. We have bishop to d7, and now bishop to g5 by white, and rook to c8, developing the rook. Rook to e1, Artemiev develops his rook to e1, and now rook to e8. And here we do have one game in the database where a3 was played, but here Artemiev goes for rook to c1 on move 13, and it's as of this moment we have a completely new game. So this is where the players really now start thinking. Of course, if you're still in your preparation, then you are just enjoying the position. But okay, we have a6, asking what do you want to do with the bishop, and here Artemiev decides to give up the bishop pair. We have bishop captures, and as the knight is no longer pressuring the d4 pawn, queen to f3, developing the queen, connecting rooks. And if you look at the position, white's pieces are a bit better. The knight is excellently placed on e5, and for the moment black's light square bishop is, well, we could say that it's like a pawn, but doesn't really matter. As long as black keeps the bishop pair, and most likely black will. If white isn't interested in giving up his monster knight, then well, it's a pretty equalish position. And here it's hard for black to find a plan. First, black develops the queen to d6, a nice square for the queen. Also, the rooks are now connected, and we have h3 by white. Rook to e3 is possible immediately, but Artemiev decides to well, play it safely for the moment. We have bishop back to d8, now opening up this e-file for the rook, but the problem with the move bishop to d8 is that the rooks are no longer connected, and this is often when you play chess, when you're playing your own game and you have this opportunity to do something like this, play, let's say, a move like this. Always ask yourself, is there a way my opponent can take advantage of my rooks not being connected? Maybe he can, but maybe he can, and you will decide not to play it. But okay, here Artemiev just goes for a nice rook lift. We have rook to e3, preparing rook c to e1, doubling rooks on the e-file. And here again, it's not all that easy to find a plan. You could go for something like h6, you could go for something like b5, but in the game, rook to f8 was played. Hráček does not like that this knight and queen are piling up on this f7 pawn, so you cannot move the knight. Black wants to defend the f7 pawn, now move the knight somewhere, exchange the bishops here, and then try to play the game from there. So rook c to e1. Artemiev just doubles up on the e file, and here black black had a different plan, but since the rook is already on f8, perhaps knight to d7 was the plan, and maybe black just decided not to go for it, because here after, let's say, knight captures, you could capture with the b pawn, bishop f4 attacks the queen, queen moves, let's say, to g6. Now white could go knight a4 to take care of the c5 square, and here it's a playable position for both white and black. White is a little bit better, but nothing out of the ordinary, you know. But okay, after rook c to e1, Hráček does not go for this exchange immediately, but rather he goes queen to b4, pressuring the b2 pawn, but it's not likely that you are going to capture this pawn. All of these pieces are piling up around your king. I mean, going pawn hunting in a moment like this, that doesn't seem very plausible. But okay, here comes the moment we've mentioned. Artemiev figures out that the rooks are not connected. The rook on c8 is undefended. First, he improves the position of the queen. Queen to f5, now with an attack on the rook on c8. We have rook to a8 defending, and now comes rook to d1. First, you have to defend before you can continue attacking. You do have to keep an eye on the d4 pawn. And here the question is, can the pawn on b2 be captured? Well, here we have our first puzzle of the game. Let's say queen captures on b2 was played. How do you proceed here? How does white continue this position? You can just pause the video for a moment. This is not the main puzzle of the game. This is just something that didn't even happen. But yeah, if you found it, congratulations. If you just want to enjoy the show, rook to b1. Simply, you're not trapping the queen. The queen can go to a3, but here's the problem. Knight captures c6, b captures, and now you just get knight to e4. You open up a discovery towards the queen, and whatever the queen does, let's say go queen captures on a2, now you just capture with check. Knight captures, bishop captures, and after bishop captures, you're up a piece. Black does not have the option of recapturing, because if you recapture, then just rook checks. King goes here, queen captures on f6 will be checkmate. So for the moment, it is not possible to grab the b2 pawn. Here, Hráček went for knight to e8, just offering a trade of bishops and not allowing any future captures on f6. Here, Artemiev went back, bishop to f4, not allowing this capture. And his opponent now goes back, as now there's no danger of capturing on f6, knight back to f6, but now Artemiev just goes rook to g3. And now you can see that well, it's quite a dangerous position. Here you could waste time with something like g6, but white will not have to react. I mean, you cannot capture the queen as the king is still on g8. So here black decided to go king to h8, and Artemiev just doubles up on the third rank, which, you know, definitely something is about to happen. And here, again, you could go for queen captures on b2, but it leads to the same line that happened in the game after bishop to e8. This is what black decided to play, to keep an eye on the f7 pawn. And here, Artemiev just went a3. He forces the queen to capture. We have queen captures on b2, and now you are Artemiev. Feel free to pause the video and try to find, you know, the winning idea for white here. It's really just a wonderful plan, and I know it seems very simple. When you think you saw it, think again. It requires you to think a bit deeper. So once again, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations. You are an excellent summoner of your inner Morphy. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the idea is rook captures on g7. And for this opportunity, I even decided to put a nice Morphy head here on Artemiev. I hope you don't mind. So I know you all found the rook captures on g7. That's pretty, I mean, straightforward. But what happens next is beautiful. King captures rook, now comes rook to g3 check. I know you all saw this is not a problem. King to h8, but now comes the move you had to see. First, knight captures on d5. This is just, for those of you who saw even this far, you're just amazing. And after knight captures on d5, there's no better move. Knight captures here, followed by queen to h7 checkmate is the threat, so you do have to capture it. Knight captures is played, and now comes the move again. You had to see in the position where you played rook captures on g7, otherwise you weren't able to just sacrifice a rook. I mean, you could wing it, of course you could, but that's not how you play chess over the board. So once again, for those of you who made it all this far, once again, pause the video here and continue the attack for white. There's only one line that wins for white, and it's really a wonderful line. Once again, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you are just, an amazing player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, bishop to h6, the only move that wins. Because now, well, if black does anything, then comes bishop g7 check, and bishop moves to f6, opening up a discovered checkmate from the rook. This is the threat. Black has to do something about this. In the position, black played bishop to f6, but now, once again, very briefly, pause the video and try to find the crushing blow for white. I'll give you a couple of seconds as usual. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations. You are I am lost for words. You're just awesome. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move is, of course, queen captures on f6. And it was in this position that Czech Grandmaster Zbyněk Hráček resigned the game on move 29, because there is nothing to do here. That is why he resigned. Well, it's Czech. The only move you can afford is knight captures queen, and with this move, basically with queen captures bishop, you've removed the defender of the g7 square. That's the most important part. That's what Artemiev did, and after knight captures, of course, bishop to g7 check would follow, king to g8, and now bishop captures on f6 is the checkmate that we've discussed all along. So yeah, a wonderful game by Artemiev, who I will now remove the Morphy head, by Vladislav Artemiev in round 8 of the European Individual Championship. I even prepared the final standings, not the final, but the standings after round 8. There are 11 rounds. So here it is, with 6.5 points, 5 people after 8 rounds. That's Rochtan Maxim, Kacper Piorun, Vladislav Artemiev, who is the top seed in the tournament, Nils Grandelius, and Andrei Esipenko. Those of them with 6.5 points. Then a lot of players with 6 points. Marin Bosjocic of Croatia, also in excellent 19th place, could go a long way if if a few more victories are possible. And even Boris Gelfand there in 24th place with 5.5 points. But still, 3 more rounds to go. Everything can happen. But so far, Artemiev, the top seed, definitely living up to his name and the rating. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it, and that you were able to solve perhaps not all the puzzles I've presented you with, but at least most of them. Or if you didn't solve them, at least I hope you enjoyed them. And yeah, once again, that's the game. I would like to thank Greg Kreider and his son, Lincoln Choi, Carl Weinberg, Joshua Thompson, and Ashish Kumar for their contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon with some more interesting content, hopefully from this championship, from the US Championship, continue the Capablanca saga, and so on. We do have a lot of things going on at the moment. And I don't know, I did some... since I do have a better graphics card now, I try to improve the quality of my camera, so I don't know if it's any better, but if it is, do comment so I would know. Once again, thank you all, and I will see you soon.